Right now, I want you to do something. Run your finger along your part line. Go ahead. If that part is wider than it was 5 years ago, if there's more scalp showing than hair, I need you to stop everything and watch this video, because what you're looking at is not normal aging. It is not genetics catching up with you, and it is absolutely not a biotin deficiency. Here's what nobody in the supplement industry will say out loud. Biotin does not work for postmenopausal hair loss. Not because you haven't taken enough of it, not because you bought the wrong brand, but because after 60, your hair is falling out for a completely different biological reason. One that biotin was never designed to address. The vitamin that actually rebuilds thinning follicles after 60 exists. It's supported by clinical research, and I'm going to name it, explain exactly how it works, and tell you the precise dose and form that produces results. Stay with me. A patient came into my office about 2 years ago. 64 years old, she sat down, opened her purse, and placed a small Ziploc bag on the desk between us. Inside it was hair, a week's worth of hair from her shower drain. She had been collecting it quietly so she could show someone what was actually happening to her. She didn't say anything for a moment. Then she said, "I just wanted you to see it." Margaret had been taking 10,000 micrograms of biotin every single day for 14 months. She was using a biotin-infused shampoo. She had tried iron supplements after reading something online. She was doing everything the supplement aisle told her to do. None of it had changed a single thing. When we ran her labs, the answer was immediate and clear. Her serum vitamin D level was 17 nanograms/ml. The clinical threshold for sufficiency is 30. The range now associated with optimal hair follicle function in postmenopausal women is 50 to 70. Margaret wasn't failing her hair. Her follicles were waiting, stuck for a biological signal her body had, essentially stopped producing. And once we addressed that, her results were measurable within 8 weeks. What I'm about to explain is exactly what I explained to her. Here is what is actually happening inside your scalp. Every hair follicle in your body runs on a cycle. There's a growth phase called anagen, a transition phase called catagen, and a resting and shedding phase called telogen. In a healthy scalp, roughly 85 to 90% of your follicles are in the growth phase at any given time. After menopause and .DA, especially after 60, that ratio shifts. More and more follicles get stuck in telogen. They don't grow, they shed, and the new growth cycle never fully restarts. The reason this happens involves something called the vitamin D receptor, or VDR. These receptors sit inside the dermal papilla cells, the cells at the very base of each follicle. When vitamin D3 binds to these receptors, it sends a direct chemical signal. Begin the growth phase. It is the biological ignition key for hair cycling. Think of it this way. Each hair follicle is a factory on a shift schedule. Vitamin D3 is the shift manager who walks in every morning and tells the workers to start the production line. Without D3, without that manager showing up, the workers are there, the equipment is there, but nobody gives the order to begin. The factory sits idle. The follicle stays in the resting phase, and over time, from disuse, it begins to miniaturize. A 2020 study published in the International Journal of Dermatology found that women with female pattern hair loss had average vitamin D levels of just 23.9 nanograms/ml, critically low. And here's the part that matters for anyone over 60. Research shows that after age 60, your skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D from sunlight drops by approximately 75% compared to when you were 20. 75%. You cannot sun your way out of this. You need targeted supplementation, and the right kind matters enormously. Before I give you the solution, I need to address something directly. If biotin hasn't worked for you, I don't want you to think you did something wrong. You didn't. The biotin industry built a marketing machine on a single narrow truth and then sold it to everyone as if it were a universal solution. Here is that narrow truth. Biotin, vitamin B7, supports the enzyme processes that construct keratin, the protein that hair shafts are made of. In women with a confirmed clinical biotin deficiency, supplementation can support hair structure. That's real. That's documented. But here is the exact scientific limitation they never put on, the label. Biotin has no biochemical pathway to activate vitamin D receptors. It cannot restart a follicle stuck in telogen phase. It cannot slow the follicular miniaturization caused by DHT, dihydrotestosterone, which becomes increasingly dominant after estrogen declines at menopause. Biotin builds the shaft of the hair. It cannot restart the engine that grows the hair in the first place. A 2017 review in JAMA Dermatology confirmed this precisely. Biotin supplementation shows measurable benefit only in individuals with confirmed biotin deficiency and found no clinical evidence supporting its use in the general population experiencing hair thinning. The supplement companies know this. They profit from not telling you. Your hair loss after 60 is not a biotin problem. It is a follicle signaling problem, and that requires a completely different set of tools. Here are that the clinical evidence actually supports, ranked in order from helpful to essential. Before introducing number 4, narrator says, I also want to warn you about number 2, because almost every woman I've spoken to is taking it in the wrong form. The right form is clinically supported. The wrong form passes through your system almost completely unused. I'll show you exactly what to look for on the label when we get there. Number 4, vitamin E, the scalp circulation restore. Most people know vitamin E. Almost nobody is taking the right form of it. There are 2 families within the vitamin E category, tocopherols and tocotrienols. The vast majority of cheap vitamin E supplements contain tocopherols, specifically alpha tocopherol. It's inexpensive to produce. It's on almost every label. And for hair health specifically, it is largely ineffective. Tocotrienols are the active form, and what they do in your scalp is precise. They reduce oxidative stress in the follicular microenvironment. Oxidative damage, the cellular rust that accumulates after 60 die, constricts the tiny capillaries that supply blood to each follicle. Less blood flow means less oxygen. Less oxygen means less nutrient delivery. The follicle starves slowly, and nobody notices until the thinning becomes visible. If the hair follicle is a factory, the capillaries are the supply chain. Tocotrienols clear the congestion on the highway so that raw materials can actually reach the production floor. A 2010 study published in Tropical Life Sciences Research found that tocotrienol supplementation produced a 5% increase in hair count over 8 months compared to a 0.1% increase in the placebo group. That is not a rounding data. That is a clinically meaningful difference. How to take it? 100 milligrams of mixed tocotrienol complex daily with a fat-containing meal. This is non-negotiable. Vitamin E is fat-soluble, meaning without dietary fat in the same meal, absorption drops dramatically. Check the label specifically for the word tocotrienols. If it says only tocopherol or alpha tocopherol, put it back. Now, tocotrienols improve circulation to the follicle, but if the follicle's oxygen supply has been compromised for months or years, there's a deeper deficiency driving the problem. And most women over 60 have it without knowing because their doctors are measuring the wrong thing. Number 3, iron, the oxygen carrier. Most doctors miss. Here is a critical distinction that could explain years of unexplained hair loss. When most doctors check iron levels, they run a CBC, a complete blood count. It measures hemoglobin, and if hemoglobin is normal, they tell you your iron is fine. But hemoglobin is not the number that matters for hair. Ferritin.is. Ferritin is your body's stored iron, the reserve tank, not the fuel in the engine. And hair follicles, which are among the fastest dividing cells in the human body, draw heavily from that reserve. When ferritin drops below a certain threshold, research from the Cleveland Clinic and work published in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology sets that threshold at 40 nanograms per milliliter. Your body begins making triage decisions. It routes available iron to the organs it considers essential, your heart, your liver, your brain. Your hair follicles are classified as non-essential tissue, so they get cut first. Think of it as a wartime economy. When resources run low, the body is ruthless about what it funds. Hair is the first budget line to be eliminated. The result is a shortened growth cycle and increased shedding, even when your hemoglobin looks perfectly normal on a standard blood test. What to do? Request a serum ferritin test specifically, not just a CBC, a serum ferritin. If your level is below 70, hair optimization is clinically compromised. Target 70 to 100 nanograms/ml for this purpose. If you are deficient, iron bisglycinate is the preferred form. gentlest on the GI tract, highest absorption. Take it with 500 milligrams of vitamin C at the same meal. Research shows this pairing can increase iron absorption by up to 67%, and please speak with your physician before starting iron supplementation. Too much iron is harmful. The goal is optimization, not excess. Before I give you number 2, let me stop and remind you. I said earlier that almost everyone is taking this next one in the wrong form. This is what I meant. Number 2, zinc, the DHT blocker hiding in plain sight. After menopause, estrogen falls, and when estrogen falls, a hormone called DHT, dihydrotestosterone, becomes disproportionately dominant in the body. DHT is the primary driver of follicular miniaturization in women over 60. It binds to receptors at the base of the hair follicle, and over time causes the follicle to shrink, producing progressively thinner, shorter hairs, until the follicle goes silent entirely. An enzyme called 5-alpha reductase is what converts testosterone into DHT, and zinc is one of the few non-pharmaceutical compounds with a documented inhibitory effect on 5-alpha reductase activity. DHT is a wrecking ball. Zinc doesn't remove the wrecking ball, but it cuts the cable that controls it. It slows the damage significantly at the enzymatic level. A study published in the Annals of Dermatology in 2013 found that hair loss patients had serum zinc levels significantly lower than controls, and that zinc supplementation at 50 milligrams daily produced measurable improvement in the severity of alopecia tool score over 12 weeks. Now, worry the form. This is what I warned you about. The zinc in most inexpensive supplements is zinc oxide, the same compound used in sunscreen. Its bioavailability is extremely poor. Studies put absorption at around 10%. Your body uses almost none of it. Look for zinc picolinate or zinc bisglycinate. These chelated forms absorb at significantly higher rates. Some research suggests up to 4 times more effectively than zinc oxide. Dosage 25 to 40 milligrams daily with food. Do not exceed 40 milligrams long-term without monitoring because excess zinc competes with copper absorption and can create a secondary deficiency. If you're supplementing with zinc for more than 3 months, add 1 to 2 milligrams of copper daily to maintain balance. Everything I've shared so far, the circulation support, the oxygen delivery, the DHT inhibition, all of it works significantly better in the decedence of what comes next. In fact, number 1 is what turns the other 3 on. And I promised you this from the first 30 seconds. If this is the first time anyone has broken down your hair loss in terms of your actual biology after 60, not just eat more protein or try this shampoo, hit subscribe. Every video on this channel is built the same way. Mechanism, study, exact protocol, no guesswork. Number 1, vitamin D3. The follicle ignition switch that changes everything after 60. This is the dot 1. This is what Margaret was missing. This is what the Biotin bottle will never tell you. And this is what I want you to write down because the specifics here matter more than with anything else we've covered. Vitamin D3 activates the vitamin D receptors inside your dermal papilla cells, the cells at the base of every hair follicle. When D3 binds to those receptors, it sends the direct chemical signal to begin the anagen growth phase. Without adequate D3, your follicles cannot receive that signal. They stay in the resting phase. They shed, they wait, and they shrink. The science on this is consistent. A 2019 study in Skin Pharmacology and Physiology found that women with telogen effluvium and androgenetic alopecia had significantly lower vitamin D levels than healthy controls, and that correcting deficiency correlated with measurable increases in hair density. More foundationally, researchers studying vitamin D receptor gene function found that mice with completely deleted VDR genes developed total alopecia regardless of all other nutritional status. Every other nutrient present, every other system functioning, but without VDR activation, no hair grows. That is how fundamental this pathway is. After 60, you face 2 compounding problems. Your dietary intake of D3 is likely low, and your skin synthesizes D3 from sunlight at a fraction of the rate it once did. You cannot supplement this casually. You need to get tested, dose appropriately, and pair it correctly. The protocol. First, get your 25-hydroxy vitamin D .L level tested. This is a standard blood test. Know your number before you supplement. The clinical sufficiency threshold is 30 nanograms per milliliter. For hair follicle optimization specifically, the target range is 50 to 70 nanograms per milliliter. If you are deficient, a common therapeutic starting dose is 4,000 to 5,000 IU of D3 daily. Always consult your physician to confirm the right dose for your individual level. Second, and this is critical, especially for women over $60, you must pair D3 with vitamin K2 in the MK7 form. Here is why. D3 increases the absorption of calcium from the gut. That calcium needs to be directed to your bones, where it belongs. K2 activates the proteins that perform that routing. Without K2, that calcium can be deposited in soft tissue and arterial walls instead. This is not a minor consideration. It is a cardiovascular safety issue. Take 100 to 200 micrograms of K2MK7 form with every D3 dose. Take both with your largest fat-containing meal of the day. D3 is fat-soluble. Absorption is meaningfully higher in the presence of dietary fat. Retest your serum D level at 90 days to calibrate. Hair cycling operates on a 90-day biological clock. You will not see full results before then, and that is completely expected. Let me tell you exactly what the process looks like, so you know whether what you're experiencing is normal or not. Weeks 1 to 2, you won't see new hair growth yet. What you may notice is a reduction in scalp sensitivity, itching, or inflammation. That is D3's anti-inflammatory effect beginning to work at the follicular level. It's real, and it means your biology is responding. Weeks 4 to 6, shedding begins to slow. Not new growth yet, but you will likely notice less hair in the brush, less in the drain. The telogen rate is starting to reduce. This is the hardest phase psychologically, because improvement is felt before it's seen. Trust the process here. Weeks 8 to 12, new anagen hairs begin to emerge. They will be fine and short, often mistaken for flyaways or baby hairs. If you see these, particularly along your hairline or part line, that is exactly what you want. Your follicles are re-entering the growth phase. Take a photograph at week 8. You will want the comparison later. Month 4 to 6, measurable increase in hair shaft diameter and overall density in the primary areas of thinning. The part line narrows. The mirror reflects something closer to what you remember. This is the transformation moment, not a sudden overnight change, but an accumulation of biology finally moving in the right direction. One honest caveat, and I say this because I want you to actually see results. None of this protocol works on a 3-week trial. Hair cycling is a 90-day biological process. 6 months of consistent, correctly dosed supplementation is the minimum meaningful commitment. If you are not willing to do that, no supplement on this list or any other bind will produce the result you're looking for. That is not a disclaimer. That is physiology. I promised you this at the start of the video. Here it is. There is one scalp technique that research links to increased microcirculation at the follicular level, meaning the nutrients you are now supplementing with actually reach the follicle more effectively. Scalp massage with gentle pressure, specifically 4 minutes of daily scalp massage, using the pads of your fingers with firm but gentle circular movements across the entire scalp. A 2016 study from Japan found that standardized scalp massage performed over 24 weeks produced a significant increase in hair thickness, attributed to mechanical stretching of dermal papilla cells, which in turn stimulates follicular activity. If you want to extend this, a clean, lightweight scalp oil, rosehip, or jojoba applied during the massage adds a medium that reduces friction and supports a slightly longer session. This is not a replacement for supplementation. It is an amplifier. Think of it as opening the door more fully for everything else you've just learned. Before we close, drop something in the comments. How long have you been taking Biotin? And have you ever had your vitamin D level tested? I read every comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely shape what I cover next. After 60, your hair doesn't need more biotin. It needs the vitamins that reactivate the follicle signaling system that menopause disrupted. Vitamin D3 with K2 to restart the growth cycle. Zinc picolinate to slow DHT-driven miniaturization. Optimized ferritin to restore oxygen delivery. And tocotrienol form vitamin E to reopen the capillary supply chains that feed every follicle. Margaret came back to my office 8 months after that first appointment. She didn't bring a Ziploc bag this time. She said, "I don't need to collect it anymore." That is not a miracle. That is what happens when you stop giving your body what the marketing industry says you need and start giving it what your biology is actually asking for. If this video explains something that no supplement label ever bothered to tell you, give it a like. It takes 1 second, and it helps this research reach more. Women who are sitting at their bathroom mirrors wondering why nothing is working, subscribe and tap the notification bell. Every week on this channel, we break down one specific biological mechanism affecting women over 60 does, with real studies, real numbers, and exact protocols. Not generic advice, not sponsored opinions, mechanisms. And next week, I'm covering the one mineral that your thyroid, your hair follicles, and your sleep cycles all compete for after 60, and what happens to your hair when the thyroid wins that competition. If you think today's video changed how you see hair loss, next week will change how you see everything else. I'll see you there.